I ran. I don't remember grabbing my keys or my purse or even putting on shoes. I just remember the sound of my own ragged breath, the sterile stinging smell of the hospital, and the echoing click-clack of my heels on the polished linoleum floor. A nurse, a kind face full of pity, had directed me, ICU third floor, end of the hall. The call had come at 2:17 a.m. A calm, sterile, automated voice from St. Jude's Hospital. This is an emergency notification for Brenda Washington. We have your son, Marcus Washington, in our care. He is in the intensive care unit. Intensive care? The words were a physical blow, a void that opened in my stomach. I don't remember the drive, just the red lights blurring past, the sting of the seatbelt against my chest, and the one single desperate silent prayer, repeated over and over like a mantra. Not him, not him, too, please, God, not him, too. I'd already buried his father, Frank, 20 years ago, a sudden massive heart attack that stole him from us, leaving me with a mortgage, a mountain of grief, and our 10-year-old son. Marcus was all I had left. He was my life's work, my entire world. I burst through the double doors of the ICU, my eyes frantically scanning for his name. Ma'am? Can I help you? A nurse, a tall, strong-looking black woman in her 40s, her face a mask of professional calm, stepped in front of me. My son, I gasped, my voice a dry, rasping thing. Marcus Washington, I got a call on accident. Her calm expression softened, just slightly, replaced by a look I knew all too well from my 40 years as a social worker. It was pity. The deep, heavy, weary pity of a professional who has seen too much. Brenda Washington, she asked, her voice low. I nodded, trembling. He's here, ma'am. He's stable, but he's in a medically induced coma. His wife Chantal is with the doctor right now. My daughter-in-law, Chantal. A name that always landed in my heart with a small, cold thud. Let me tell you about Chantal. Let me tell you about the son I raised, and the woman he married, and let me tell you what happened in that hospital room, in the dead of night, a secret I was never meant to see. Before we continue, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to hear my story. If you're comfortable, let me know where you're listening from and what time it is where you are. Now let me tell you my story. First, you need to understand who I am. Because my son Marcus and his wife Chantal, they look at me and they see a simple woman, a burden. My name is Brenda Washington. I'm 61, retired. For nearly 40 years I was a senior county social worker. My entire life was dedicated to navigating the broken, jagged edges of other people's lives. I've sat in roach-infested apartments, listening to stories of abuse so horrific they'd make your skin crawl. I've fought uncaring bureaucracies, clawed back funding for at-risk kids, and looked into the eyes of liars, addicts, and manipulators. Every single day. My job wasn't just helping people. It was reading people. It was finding the truth hidden beneath the performance, the lie, the desperation. I am not a simple woman. I am a professional observer of the human condition. My life has been quiet. Yes. After Frank, my husband, died, it was just me and Marcus. I poured every ounce of my being, every cent I had, into that boy. I worked 2 jobs for a decade, my day job at the county, and nights and weekends transcribing legal documents, just to make sure he had the chances Frank and I never did. To get him into a good school, to see him build a life. He did. He got a good degree, a decent job in marketing. He met Chantal, and the son I knew, the sweet, gentle boy who loved history and jazz, began to disappear. He was replaced by a man I barely recognized, a man who was insecure, weak, and utterly completely bewitched by his new high-powered wife. And now, running down that hospital corridor, my heart a trapped bird in my chest, all I could think was that my one precious remaining link to this world, my son, was in a coma. And the only person in charge of his life was her. Marcus, my son, is a good man, or at least he was. At his core I have to believe that, but he is weak. He's a mid-level marketing manager, a steady job but not a high-flying one, and he married up, at least. That's how the world, and how she sees it. Chantal Washington, Esquire. She is not a social worker. She is a high-earning, ruthless corporate lawyer at one of the biggest firms in the city. She is beautiful, sharp, impeccably dressed, and she is the primary and very loud breadwinner. She is the sun, and my son, Kevin. No, Marcus orbits her, a small, grateful, slightly terrified moon. He worships her. He sees her ambition as strength, her arrogance as confidence, her cold calculating nature as just the way she is. "She's a high performer, Mom," he'd say, his voice full of a fawning admiration that made my skin crawl. "She's just stressed. She operates on a different level." After I retired, my simple pension wasn't enough to keep my old house. I sold it, planning to get a small, quiet apartment. But Chantel, in a rare strategic performance of daughterly concern, insisted I move in with them. "It's perfect, Brenda," she trilled. "We have all this space. You can help with the grandkids. It'll be so much easier for everyone." It was a lie. I wasn't moving in as family. I was moving in as unpaid staff. The guest room they gave me wasn't the nice one with the ensuite bath and the garden view. That I learned was kept pristine for her colleagues or important guests. My room was the small, cold, cramped space over the garage, next to the noisy laundry room, furnished with their discarded college furniture. My retirement became a 60-hour workweek. I was the nanny to their 2 spoiled children. I was the cook expected to have a healthy organic meal on the table when they swept in at 7 p.m., often complaining about my old-fashioned use of salt. I was the maid, cleaning their massive cold minimalist house while they were at the gym or at networking dinners. And the rage bait, the slow daily poisoning of my dignity. It was constant. It was the condescending way Chantal would hand me her old designer clothes, items she'd worn once and deemed last season. "Here, Brenda," she'd say, not even looking at me. "Maybe you get some use out of this. It's better than donating it." It was the way she'd loudly complain to Marcus about the drag on their finances. My presence created, even though I was saving them thousands a month in childcare and housekeeping costs. And Kevin, no, Marcus, my son. He just watched. He'd wince. He'd look down at his plate, but he would say nothing. His silence, his complicity was the sharpest, most painful blade. He was so terrified of his queen, so desperate to maintain the illusion of their power couple life, that he would stand by silent and nodding as she treated his own mother like a charity case, a burden. He had adopted her values. He saw me through her eyes, as simple, as poor, and as an inconvenience to be managed. The call came at 2:17 a.m. I was in my small room over the garage, asleep, the hum of the dryer on the other side of the wall, a familiar vibrating presence. The ring of my personal cell phone on the nightstand was a piercing, violent sound in the quiet. It was Chantel. Her voice was wrong. "I'm a social worker. I've received thousands of hysterical, panicked, grieving phone calls in my life. I know the sound of genuine terror. I know the sound of profound, soul-crushing grief." This wasn't it. Chantel was sobbing, but the sobs were high-pitched, thin, theatrical, like an actress in a bad play performing grief. There were no ragged breaths, no choked-back wails, just loud, performative crying. "Oh, Brenda," she shrieked into the phone, the sound so loud I had to pull it away from my ear. "It's terrible. It's Marcus. Oh God, it's just awful." My heart stopped. I sat bolt upright, my own breath gone. "Chantel, what's wrong? What happened to Marcus?" He fell," she wailed. The word "fell" drawn out dramatically. "He fell down the stairs. The big marble stairs in the foyer. He must have slipped. He was working late, he came down for water, and I heard this terrible crash." The grand, sweeping, polished marble staircase in their foyer. It was Monique's, Chantal's pride and joy. It was also, as I had noted many times, a death trap. Slippery, no runner with a low minimalist railing. Is he breathing?" I asked, my own voice a hoarse whisper, my social worker's brain already kicking in, trying to triage. "I don't know," she cried. "He's not waking up. He's not. Oh God, Brenda, there's blood. The ambulance is on its way, they're taking him to St. Jude's." And then, she said the line that even in my blind panic snagged on my ear, snagged on my years of experience. "I'm handling everything," she said, her sobs suddenly pausing, her voice shifting for a split second into a cold, efficient, businesslike tone. "I'm the one talking to the doctors. I'm his wife. Just meet us there, get a cab. And Brenda, please, try not to be hysterical. I need to be strong right now, for both of us." She was directing me. In the middle of her supposed grief-stricken panic, she was managing my emotional response, positioning me as the hysterical one, and her as the strong one. The call ended. I threw on my clothes, my hands shaking so hard I could barely zip my pants. My mind was a whirlwind of pure primal terror for my son. But beneath the terror, beneath the panic, a small, cold, professional voice, the voice of the archivist, no, the social worker in me whispered, "Her story is thin. Her grief is fake. Something is wrong." I ignored it. I shoved it down. My son was hurt. That was all that mattered. I ran out of the house, not even bothering to close the door to my room, and raced to the hospital, my mind filled with nothing but his face, his smile, and a desperate, clawing fear. The hospital was a blur. The emergency room, bright, cold, and smelling of antiseptic and fear, was a place I knew professionally but had never entered as a victim. As a mother, a volunteer directed me to the intensive care unit on the 3rd floor. The words intensive care were a fresh blow, confirming the severity, the life and death stakes. I ran from the elevator, my heart hammering against my ribs so hard it hurt. I burst through the double doors of the ICU, my eyes frantically scanning the hallway, looking for his name, for Chantal, for anyone. "Ma'am, can I help you?" A nurse, a tall, strong-looking black woman in dark blue scrubs, her hair in neat braids, stepped calmly in front of me, blocking my path. She was in her 40s, and her face was a mask of professional calm, but her eyes were sharp, assessing, and full of a weary intelligence. This was not a woman you could fool. This was a charge nurse. "My son," I gasped, my voice a dry, rasping thing. "Marcus Washington, I got a call. An accident. He fell." "Is he?" I couldn't finish the sentence. The nurse's calm expression softened, just slightly, but her eyes, when they met mine, were full of a strange, urgent, and deeply unsettling pity. It wasn't the standard pity for a grieving mother. It was something else, something more specific. "Are you Marcus's mother?" she asked, her voice low, quiet, almost confidential. I nodded, trembling, unable to speak, tears finally blurring my vision. "Brenda?" she confirmed, her gaze sharpening, becoming more focused. Yes, that's me." The nurse, her name tag read Alicia Hayes, RN, took a half step closer. She gave me a long, hard, assessing look. It was a look I recognized. It was the look I used to give clients when I sensed they weren't telling me the whole story. When I sensed danger, it was a look of professional assessment, of weighing risks. "Okay," she said, her voice dropping even lower, becoming almost a whisper. "Your son is here, Mrs. Washington. He's in room 4. He's stable, for now. He has a severe head injury. We have him in a medically induced coma to reduce the swelling on his brain." A coma. The word was a punch to the gut. I swayed, my hand reaching out to the wall to steady myself. "His wife Chantal is with Dr. Okoye right now, in the consultation room," Nurse Hayes continued, her eyes never leaving my face, watching my reaction. Can I see him?" I whispered, my voice breaking. "In a minute," she said, her hand reaching out, not to comfort me but to stop me, to hold me there at the nurse's station. "First, there's something you need to know." Her intensity, her gravity, the sheer wrongness of the situation finally cut through my panic. My own professional instincts, the social worker in me, kicked in. I stopped trembling. I met her gaze. What is it? What aren't they telling me?" Nurse Alicia looked quickly down the hall, toward the closed door of the consultation room. "His wife," she began, her voice tight with a disapproval that was deeply unprofessional, and therefore deeply significant. "I don't like this, Mrs. Washington. Something is very wrong." I stared at her, my mind struggling to catch up. "What's wrong? What are you talking about?" Nurse Alicia's eyes flicked past me towards the bank of elevators at the end of the hall. The light pinged. The doors hissed open. "That's her," Alicia's voice was suddenly a low, urgent hiss. "His wife. She's coming back. And the doctor is with her." She grabbed my arm. Her grip was strong, insistent. "Listen to me," she whispered, her voice fast, professional, no nonsense. "I've been an ICU nurse for 20 years. I know what real hysterical sudden grief looks like." That she jerked her chin towards the approaching footsteps. "Ain't it? Not even close." My blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" "She's been in here twice since they admitted him." Alicia spoke rapidly, her eyes still on the hallway. "Not a single tear. Hasn't asked to hold his hand. Hasn't asked once what we can do for him. Her only questions have been about his long-term prognosis, his level of brain activity, and who is his primary attending physician. She's been on her phone with someone who sounds like a lawyer, talking about policies and directives." "Oh my God," I breathed. the world tilting. Something's very wrong, Mrs. Washington, Alicia said, her eyes now locking onto mine, urgent, pleading. I have a bad feeling about this, a very bad feeling. She's up to something, and the doctor, he's a good man, but he's an administrator by the book. He's vulnerable to legal pressure. The footsteps were closer now. I could hear Chantel's sharp, articulate voice, not grieving but negotiating. There's no time, Alicia said. She suddenly grabbed my shoulders and physically shoved me, not roughly, but with a desperate, insistent force towards an adjacent dark doorway. It was a clean utility room, a small windowless space filled with shelves of sterile supplies. Hide, now, she commanded in a fierce whisper. In here, do not make a sound, just trust me, watch, listen. She pushed me into the darkness, into the smell of rubbing alcohol and bleach, and pulled the door almost completely shut, leaving it open just a tiny imperceptible crack. I stood there trembling, confused, my heart pounding so loud I was sure they would hear it. My eye was pressed to the thin sliver of light. I was hiding, in a hospital supply closet, like a criminal. And then, I watched as my daughter-in-law Chantel swept onto the ICU floor, followed by a weary-looking gray-haired man in a white coat, Dr. Okoye. She wasn't crying, she wasn't wringing her hands. She looked focused, determined, like a lawyer about to depose a hostile witness. I pressed my eye closer to the crack in the door, my body rigid, my breath held tight in my chest. The smell of bleach and sterile gauze was suffocating. Chantel, Dr. Okoye and Nurse Alicia were standing in the hallway, just outside my son's room, not 10 feet from where I was hidden. The fluorescent lights of the ICU hallway cast a harsh, unflattering glare on them. Thank you for seeing me again, doctor. Chantel began. Her voice was not the voice of a grieving wife. It was the voice I'd heard her use on business calls, cold, firm, articulate and utterly devoid of emotion. It was the voice of a shark. Of course, Mrs. Washington, Dr. Okoye replied, his voice heavy with fatigue. But as I said, your husband's condition is stable, but critical. He has significant cerebral swelling. We have him in a medically induced coma. Chantel cut him off, not with a sob, but with a sharp, impatient wave of her hand. Yes, the coma. I understand the medicals, she said dismissively. But we need to discuss his wishes. My husband and I, we discussed this exact eventuality. He was adamant. He never wanted to be kept alive by machines. I froze. My blood, which was already running cold, turned to solid ice. What? He was terrified of being a vegetable. Chantel continued, her voice now taking on a faint performative tremor. A flicker of the grieving wife performance, just for the doctor. He told me, he made me promise him, that if anything like this ever happened, that I would let him go, with dignity. Mrs. Washington, Dr. Okoye began, his voice cautious. He signed a living will, Chantel announced, her voice hardening again, the tremor gone. A DNR, a do not resuscitate order. I have the paperwork right here, from our lawyer. It's legally binding. I felt my knees buckle. I had to grab onto a metal shelf to keep from collapsing. A living will? A DNR? Marcus was 38 years old. He was healthy. He ran a half marathon last month. We had never discussed this. He was my son. He would have told me. He knew how I felt after his father. This was a lie. A monstrous, unthinkable, chilling lie. I watched, paralyzed with a horror so profound it felt like I was outside my own body, as Chantel reached into her expensive leather briefcase. A briefcase, I noted with a sickening jolt, that she must have brought with her to the hospital, and pulled out a sheaf of official-looking papers. I have the notarized document right here, doctor, she said, holding it out to him. His directive is explicit. No heroic measures, no artificial life support. I am his wife. I am his sole power of attorney for healthcare, and I am instructing you to honor his wishes. Dr. Okoye looked deeply uncomfortable. He took the papers, his eyes scanning them, his brow furrowed. Mrs. Washington, he began, his voice cautious, clearly navigating a legal minefield. Your husband is in a medically induced coma. This is a temporary measure to reduce the swelling on his brain. His vitals are stabilizing. His chances of a significant, perhaps even full recovery are quite good, all things considered. It is far, far too soon to be discussing a DNR or a withdrawal of care. This is not a futile situation. Chantel's face, which had been a mask of cold composure, tightened with a flash of pure, undisguised impatience. Her mask was slipping. "Doctor," she said, her voice dropping to a low, threatening hiss, "are you refusing to honor his legally notarized binding directive? Are you planning to violate my husband's stated wishes? Because I am his wife. I am his power of attorney. And he has a significant life insurance policy, doctor." There it was. The motive. The ugly, stinking financial motive. Laid bare under the harsh fluorescent lights of the ICU. "We have 2 small children," Chantel continued, her voice a poisonous, manipulative blend of false grief and cold, hard threat. "He would never want to see our family's entire future, our resources, his children's inheritance, drained on futile, prolonged, expensive care if he's just going to be a shell, a vegetable. He would want us to be practical. He would want me to protect our children's future." She took a step closer to the doctor, who instinctively recoiled. "So I am instructing you legally to honor his wishes. Begin the process. Withdraw care," or she paused, letting the final threat land with the weight of a physical blow. "I will have my legal team, who are already on standby, here by morning. And I will sue this hospital, and you personally, for every single penny you have. For assault. For battery. For the emotional distress of violating my husband's final sacred wishes. Do you understand me?" My blood didn't just run cold. It stopped. It turned to sludge. She wasn't just lying. She wasn't just mistaken. She was trying to kill him. My son. Her husband. For the insurance money. The air in the hallway crackled with the force of Chantel's threat. Dr. Okoye, the good man, a decent man, but a man of protocols and clearly a deep-seated fear of litigation, was visibly shaken. He looked at the forged papers in his hand, then at Chantel's hard, unyielding face, then at Nurse Alicia, who stood behind him, her own face a mask of stone-cold professional fury. "Mrs. Washington," Dr. Okoye finally stammered, his voice tight. I cannot. I will not do anything precipitously. This document must be reviewed by the hospital's legal counsel and our ethics committee. That is the required protocol." He was stalling, buying time, and I loved him for it. Chantel's eyes narrowed. She knew he was stalling. "Fine," she snapped. "Consult your committee, but the clock is ticking, doctor. I expect a decision on withdrawal of care by morning, or my lawyers will be the ones making the next call." She gave him a sharp, dismissive nod, turned on her high heel with a click-clack that echoed in the silent hall, and swept back towards the elevators, all business, her victory in her mind assured. The moment the elevator doors hissed shut behind her, Nurse Alicia was at the supply room door, pulling it open. I stumbled out, my legs like water, collapsing against the wall, gagging, fighting back the wave of nausea that rose in my throat. Brenda, breathe." Alicia's hands were on my shoulders, strong, steady. I knew it. I am so sorry, Brenda. I am so sorry you had to hear that. She's... I couldn't form the words. "She's lying," Alicia hissed, her own eyes blazing with a righteous professional fury. "I've been a nurse for 20 years. I've seen greedy families, but this is something else. That DNR, if he had a valid DNR, a living will, it would have been in his file on admission. It would be flagged everywhere. The paramedics would have known. It would be in the system. There is nothing in his chart. Nothing. She's trying to kill him, Brenda, for money." The words spoken aloud by someone else confirmed the monstrous, unthinkable reality. I leaned heavily against the wall, the world spinning. "She's a lawyer," I whispered, my mind racing, the social worker in me finally blessedly kicking in, pushing past the paralyzing grief. "She's smart. She's ruthless. That document, it's a forgery, but it will look real. The ethics committee will just be a stalling tactic. They'll be intimidated. She'll get what she wants. We have to stop her." "I know," Alicia said, her face grim. "How?" I pleaded, grabbing her arm. "How do we fight her? She has paperwork. We have nothing but suspicion." Alicia looked at me, her gaze hard, assessing. "No," she said, a new dangerous idea dawning in her eyes. "We don't have nothing, we have him." I stared at Alicia, my mind struggling to keep up. "Him? Marcus? But he's in a coma, Alicia. He's in a medically induced coma." "Brenda," she corrected me, her voice low, urgent, conspiratorial. We're suppressing his brain function with medication to let the swelling go down. But he's in there. I've seen his pupils react to light. His reflexes are intact. He's not a shell, as she so charmingly put it. She glanced down the empty hall, then pulled me further away from the main desk, her grip on my arm tight. She needs a legal document to pull the plug, right? Or she needs him to be declared brain dead. Dr. Okoye is a good man. He'll never declare brain death, not when the patient is stable. So her entire plan hinges on that document, that forged DNR. So how do we fight a forged document? I asked, my voice still a desperate whisper. We don't fight the document, Alicia said, her eyes glittering with a sudden fierce, almost reckless intelligence. We make the document irrelevant. We need our own proof. We need proof that he doesn't want this, and the only person who can give us that is Marcus himself. But how? I was lost. We need to rouse him, she said, the words hanging in the air, heavy and dangerous. Just for a minute, just for a few seconds, just long enough for him to communicate his wishes, not hers. My heart stopped again. Wake him up, but Dr. Okoye said. Dr. Okoye is following standard conservative protocol, Alicia said, her voice sharp. But this isn't a standard situation. This is a potential homicide in progress. Standard protocols go out the window when your patient is at risk from their own family. She laid out the stakes, her professional expertise radiating from her. The doctor is stalling, but he won't be able to stall for long against a high-powered threatening lawyer like her. The ethics committee, legal, they'll get involved, it'll become a mess, and in the confusion she might win. We don't have time, Brenda. We have maybe an hour, 2 if we're lucky before she's back, with more lawyers, more threats. So what's the plan? I asked, my voice trembling, but a new cold resolve settling in. There's a rally drug, Alicia said, her voice dropping even lower. A reversal agent. We use it for opiate overdoses, sometimes for benzodiazepines. It jolts the system, counteracts depressants, brings a patient up fast, even from a deep coma. Given the suspicious nature of his fall, it's possible he had something in his system, a sedative. Something she gave him before he fell. My blood ran cold. You think she... I think anything is possible at this point, Alicia said grimly. Even if he's clean, the drug can sometimes just jolt the brain. Give us a window, a few seconds of lucidity. It's risky. It could cause a spike in his blood pressure, his intracranial pressure. It's against all protocol without the doctor's order, or at least without Chantel's consent, as his POA. She looked me dead in the eye. I could lose my license. I could go to jail. This woman, this stranger, was willing to risk her entire career, her entire life for my son. I looked through the glass window at my son, lying so still, so vulnerable, the tubes and wires breathing for him, keeping him alive. Then I thought of Chantel's cold, dead eyes, her talk of insurance and practicality. The choice was not a choice. Do it, I said, my voice no longer a whisper but a command. I'm a social worker, Alicia. I'll take full legal responsibility. I'll testify. I'll say I forced you. Do it. We have to save him. Alicia nodded once, a sharp, decisive movement. Okay, go back to his room. Act like the grieving mother. I'll be there in 2 minutes. And get your phone ready. We need to record it. The 2 minutes I waited in Marcus's room, alone, were the longest of my life. I stood by his bedside, my hand trembling as I clutched his, so cold, so still. The only sounds were the rhythmic, almost hypnotic hiss-click of the ventilator and the steady, electronic beep of the heart monitor. It was a sound I knew from my work, could be silenced with a single bureaucratic order. I pulled out my phone, my fingers fumbling with the screen. I found the voice memos app. I pressed the red record button and slipped the phone into the pocket of my blouse, the microphone pointing out. My heart was pounding so hard I was afraid the phone would pick up the sound. The door to the ICU room hissed open and closed. Nurse Alicia. She wasn't alone. She'd brought another nurse, a younger, slightly terrified-looking woman. Tracy, Alicia said, her voice low. All business. You're here to assist me with a stat line flush. And you're going to stand by that door. No one, and I mean no one, not even Dr. Okoye, comes in until I say so. Lock it. The younger nurse, Tracy, her eyes wide, nodded and moved to the door, engaging the electronic lock. A massive, fireable breach of hospital protocol. Alicia was locking us in, committing her career, her future, to this one desperate act. Alicia moved to the other side of Marcus's bed with a calm, swift efficiency that was almost beautiful. She wasn't a reckless rule-breaker, she was a consummate professional, operating in a crisis. She checked his IV lines, her hands moving with practiced speed. She drew up a small amount of clear liquid from a vial into a syringe. Naloxone, or something similar. The rally drug. Okay, Brenda, she said, her voice a low, steady murmur. I'm pushing the reversal agent now. If it works, it'll be fast. He might be disoriented, agitated. He might not make sense. You have one shot. Ask the important questions first. The legal questions. Do you understand? Yes, I whispered, my mouth dry. I'll be right here watching his vitals, she said. If his pressure spikes, I'll have to counteract. We might only have seconds. Get ready. She skillfully, cleanly administered the drug into the central line port on his IV. Okay, she breathed. It's in. Now we wait. We waited. Tense, agonizing seconds. The hiss, click of the ventilator. The steady beep, beep, beep of the heart monitor. Nothing. Marcus? I whispered, leaning in close, my phone's microphone just inches from his mouth. Marcus? Honey? It's Mom. Can you hear me? I need you, baby. I need you to come back to me. Just for a minute. Nothing. The monitor was unchanged. My heart sank. It hadn't worked. Come on, Marcus. Alicia murmured, her eyes glued to the vital screen. And then, a groan. A low, guttural, agonizing sound. Marcus's eyelids, which had been still and pale, began to flutter, flickering rapidly. His head moved slightly on the pillow, a restless side-to-side motion. He's in there, Alicia whispered, her voice tight. Brenda, now. His vitals on the monitor began to change. His heart rate jumped. 80. Marcus, I said, my voice louder now, desperate. Honey, can you hear me? It's Mom. I'm right here. His eyes, his beautiful brown eyes, fluttered open. They were unfocused, clouded with drugs and confusion, but they were open. He moaned again. A sound of deep pain. Mom? His voice was a dry, thin, terrible rasp, a ghost of his real voice. Mom? I'm here, baby, I said, my own tears starting to flow. My hand gripping his. I'm right here, but I need you to listen to me. I need you to answer me. It's important, Marcus. It's so important. He blinked, slowly, trying to focus on my face. Hurts, he whispered. Head hurts. I know, baby, I know, I said, my voice choking. They're helping you, but Marcus, I have to ask you, did you sign a paper? A DNR? A paper that says you want them to stop, to let you go? His eyes, clouded as they were, widened, and in them I saw a flicker of pure, genuine, animalistic terror. No. He rasped, his voice gaining a fraction of strength from the fear. No. DNR. What? Why? No, Mom. She said you did. I pressed, the words tasting like poison. Chantel. She said you signed it, that you didn't want to live on machines. No, he whispered, his head moving restlessly on the pillow. No, never. Why? She said you fell, Marcus. I said, my voice low, urgent, my eyes on the door, my ears straining for any sound from the hallway. Down the stairs. Is that what happened? Did you slip? Was it an accident? He groaned again, a different sound this time, a sound of pure agonizing terror and memory. His eyes rolled back for a second, and I thought we'd lost him. Marcus, stay with me. Alicia commanded, her hand on his shoulder. His eyes refocused, locking on my face with a new, horrifying, desperate clarity. He knew, he remembered, he was fighting to get the words out. No, he rasped, his breath hitching. No, slip. What then, baby? I pleaded, my voice breaking. Tell me, what happened? He struggled, his mouth working, his throat thick. He was fighting the drugs, fighting the pain, fighting to give me the truth. And then, he did. She pushed me. The words, a hoarse, terrified whisper, landed in the silent, beeping room with the force of a physical blow. I stopped breathing. Argument, he gasped, his eyes wild. The insurance. My life insurance. She found the policy, so much. Chantel? I whispered, my entire world, the last shred of my reality dissolving. Chantel did this. He couldn't speak again, but he gave a small, agonizing, almost imperceptible nod. His eyes full of terror and a terrible final understanding, locked on mine. "Chantal," he breathed, the name a curse. She pushed me, and then his eyes rolled back, his body went limp, and he slipped back into the deep, dark, silent ocean of unconsciousness. The monitors, which had been alarming with his spike in heart rate and blood pressure, began to settle slowly back to their baseline. I froze, my phone still clutched in my pocket, still recording, felt like it was burning a hole through my clothes. It wasn't an accident, it wasn't a lie about a DNR, it was attempted murder. My son's wife, the mother of my grandchildren, had tried to kill him. For money. And she was about to walk right back through that door. I stood there paralyzed, my mind a roaring chaos of horror and disbelief. She pushed me, the words echoed, again and again, a sickening, impossible refrain. My son, his wife, attempted murder. It was Alicia who broke the spell. Her training, her years of dealing with trauma and crisis snapped her into action while I was still drowning. Brenda. Brenda. Her voice was a sharp slap, pulling me back. We have it. We have the proof. But he's unconscious again. It's his word, recorded against hers. And she's a lawyer. We need to be smart. She moved to the door, her face a grim, determined mask. Tracy, she called to the other nurse. Unlock the door, then go to the main station, page Dr. Okoye, stay at to room 4, and then, her voice was hard, call hospital security. Tell them we have a developing domestic situation, involving a patient and his legal next of kin. Tell them to send 2 officers to this room, now, discreetly but fast. The younger nurse, pale but resolute, nodded and disappeared. Brenda, Alicia turned back to me, her eyes intense. She'll be back, she's not going to let this go. She'll have her lawyer, she'll have that forged paper, and she'll be ready for a fight. We need to set the scene. We need to be ready. My social worker's brain, the cold, analytical part that had been offline, finally, mercifully, clicked back on. The fog of shock and grief receded, replaced by a cold, sharp, righteous fury. Alicia was right. This wasn't a family drama anymore. This was a crime scene, and Chantal was the perpetrator. The recording, I said, my voice trembling but firming. I pulled my phone from my pocket, my fingers flying. I stopped the recording, saved the file, and immediately, using the hospital's Wi-Fi, uploaded it to my secure private cloud server, a backup, a copy. The evidence was safe. Good, Alicia said, nodding in approval. Now, put it away, but keep it ready. Dr. Okoye is on his way, security is on its way, and she is on her way. We're going to let her walk right into it. We set the scene. I sat in the hard plastic visitor's chair, in the corner, trying to look like the weeping, hysterical, grieving mother they expected me to be. Alicia stood by the monitors, the picture of professional nursing, calm, checking his vitals, her face impassive. We didn't have to wait long. Just as Dr. Okoye hurried into the room, his face a mask of confusion and concern, flanked by 2 large uniformed hospital security guards, the ICU doors at the end of the hall hissed open again. It was Chantal. She was back, as predicted. She was not alone. Flanking her was a sharp, predatory-looking man in an impeccably tailored $5,000 suit, carrying a slim leather briefcase. Her lawyer. She was no longer performing grief. She was on the warpath. She strode into the room, her high heels clicking aggressively on the clean floor, her eyes blazing with cold legal fury. She was here to finish the job. Chantal and her lawyers stopped at the foot of Marcus's bed, a phalanx of arrogant corporate power. She completely ignored me, weeping quietly, and I admit somewhat performatively now, in the corner. Her entire focus was on Dr. Okoye, who stood looking bewildered, between the bed and the 2 impassive security guards. Dr. Okoye, she began, her voice a whip crack. I am appalled. I was just informed by your staff that you are consulting an ethics committee. Mrs. Washington, the doctor began, this is a complex. It is not complex, she snapped. It is simple. I am my husband's wife. I am his sole designated healthcare power of attorney, and I have his legally notarized, binding advance directive and do not resuscitate order right here. She snatched the papers from her lawyer's briefcase and shoved them at the doctor. I am instructing you, legally, as of this moment, to cease all heroic measures and begin the process of compassionate withdrawal of care, as per his explicit written wishes. Her lawyer stepped forward. "And let me be perfectly clear, doctor," he said, his voice a smooth, oily purr. "Any deviation from my client's instruction, any delay will be met with immediate legal action. We will sue this hospital and you personally for assault, battery and the intentional infliction of emotional distress. We will strip this place down to the studs. Do you understand?" The threat was naked, brutal, effective. Dr. Okoye looked at the papers, his face pale. He looked at the lawyer. He looked at me, the hysterical mother. He was trapped. It was Alicia who spoke, her voice clear, calm, and carrying in the tense silence. "That won't be possible, doctor." Chantal and her lawyer spun around, as if just noticing her. "Excuse me?" Chantal sneered. "Who the hell are you?" "The nurse? Go get us some coffee. The adults are talking." Alicia didn't flinch. She just met Chantal's gaze with a look of pure, unadulterated ice. "It won't be possible," she repeated, "because the patient's condition has changed. He is no longer non-responsive." Chantal's face went white. Her lawyer looked confused. What does that mean?" What? "He woke up," I said. My voice, small and trembling just moments before, was now clear, cold, and hard as steel. I stood up from the corner chair, wiping the fake tears from my face. I stepped into the light. Chantal stared at me, her mask of arrogance shattering into 1,000 pieces, revealing the raw, animal panic underneath. You're lying. He's in a coma. He's a vegetable. He's non-responsive." "He was," I said, pulling my smartphone from my pocket. But Nurse Hayes, suspecting his condition might not be as it seemed, administered a counter-agent, and my son, Marcus, woke up. Just for a minute, but it was long enough. "That's absurd," the lawyer blustered, trying to regain control. "This is a desperate, hysterical, it's inadmissible. She's lying." "He's right, Mom," Chantal gasped, her eyes wild, sensing her escape. "It's your word against mine, and I'm the wife." "No, honey," I said, my voice almost gentle now. "It's not my word against yours." I held up my phone. "It's his." I pressed play, and I turned the volume all the way up. The room, the entire silent, breathless ICU, filled with the sound of my son's terrified, rasping, unmistakable, recorded voice. No DNR. What? Why? No. She pushed me. Chantal, she pushed me. The sound of my son's voice, his weak, ghostly, terrified words echoed in the sterile room. "She pushed me. Chantal, she pushed me." Chantal let out a sound I will never ever forget. It wasn't a scream. It wasn't a sob. It was a low, guttural animal wail, of pure, unadulterated existential despair. The sound of a soul being ripped from a body. The sound of a cornered, guilty animal, seeing the trap spring. Her lawyer was a picture. His face went perfectly, comically white. His expensive, reptilian smile vanished. His jaw dropped. He looked at the phone in my hand, then at his client, then at the 2 uniformed security guards, and he took 1, 2, 3, very deliberate, very large steps away from her, physically and legally, distancing himself from the toxic, criminal fallout that was now raining down upon her. I was not aware of this," he stammered, holding up his hands. "My representation is concluded." He turned and fled the room. Dr. Okoye's face was a mask of pure, unadulterated horror and dawning, righteous fury. He looked at Chantal with a look of such profound disgust. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. The 2 security guards, their faces now grim, unholstered no, they didn't unholster. They simply stepped forward, their presence sudden, large and immovable, flanking her, cutting off any escape. "Ma'am," one of them said, his voice hard. "All business. You need to come with us. Now." Chantal, broken, hysterical, finally dissolved. She collapsed to the floor, sobbing, begging, lying. No, he's delirious. He's confused. He doesn't know what he's saying. Brenda, please. Tell them it's a mistake. I love him. I just looked down at her, at this monstrous, pathetic creature weeping on the hospital floor, and I felt nothing. No pity, no remorse. Just the cold, quiet, satisfying click of a file being closed, a case being won. I turned to Nurse Alicia and Dr. Okoye. "Thank you," I said, my voice clear and steady. "Thank you for saving my son's life." The story ends, as all real-life dramas do, Not with a neat bow, but with a long, messy and painful recovery. Chantel was arrested, right there in the ICU for attempted murder, the recording, the forged DNR, Alicia's testimony, and most importantly, Marcus's own detailed horrified statement to the police once he was stable and fully conscious, built an ironclad case. Her trial was short, brutal, and made every local news broadcast. She was found guilty. She's upstate now, serving a 15 to 20-year sentence. Her high-performance life, her legal career, her brand, all of it gone. Nurse Alicia Hayes? She became our family's guardian angel. She did face a severe reprimand from the hospital board for her breach of protocol. But I, and my own legal team, hired with the proceeds from my house sale, the money I was saving for my retirement, stood by her. We argued imminent danger, and the necessity doctrine. She kept her job, she kept her license. She's still saving lives at St. Jude's, a quiet, brilliant bureau. And Marcus, my son. The road back for him has been long. His recovery, both physical and emotional, is ongoing. He's in a long-term rehab facility, learning to walk again, his brain slowly healing from the trauma. I'm sitting by his bedside now, months later. The room is quiet, sunny. He's stable. His eyes are open, clear, but they are haunted, cast down in a shame so profound. I'm not sure it will ever leave him. He's crying, finally, not the dry, panicked sobs of a man trapped, but the deep, racking, cleansing tears of regret and terror. He's confessed everything to me, to the police, about Chantel's control, her obsession with his new massive life insurance policy, which in a fit of practicality after the kids were born, she had convinced him to sign, making her the sole unchangeable beneficiary. The argument on the stairs, the night he finally told her he'd had enough, that he saw her for what she was, that he wanted a divorce and was cutting her off from his finances, and her reaction. The cold, dead look in her eyes, and the sudden, violent, two-handed shove. His road is long, but he is alive. He is safe. Her reign of terror is over, ended by a mother's stubborn, desperate, undying love, and by a nurse's quiet, unbreakable, righteous courage. I'm holding his hand. It's weak, but he squeezes back. It's a start.